The blue and red lights carved through the darkness like knives. I stood outside Erin Calloway's house, watching officers disappear through her front door. My badge felt heavy against my chest. Detective Miles Renner, that's me. 20 years on the force, and I still felt my stomach turn at scenes like this. The door hung open. Inside, I could see her coffee mug on the kitchen counter, steam long gone. A half-written letter fluttered under the ceiling fan's slow rotation. The paramedic met my eyes as I stepped inside, and I already knew. His face said everything. "She's gone," he confirmed quietly. Erin Calloway, 32 years old, elementary school teacher, dead in her own home on a Tuesday night in Brookhaven. The kind of neighborhood where people left their garage doors open and kids rode bikes until dark. Outside, neighbors gathered on driveways in bathrobes and slippers, whispering behind cupped hands. An older woman clutched her husband's arm. A younger man filmed on his phone until an officer told him to stop. Someone in the crowd said, "Didn't she just organize the block meeting last week?" I looked back at the house. Every window glowed warm and yellow. From the outside, it looked like someone was home, waiting. But inside, there was only silence and the faint metallic smell I'd learned to recognize years ago. This wasn't random. I felt it in my bones. Carol Whitmore arrived in a rain-soaked coat, slippers still on her feet. Erin's mother. She pushed past the yellow tape before anyone could stop her, eyes wild, searching for her daughter's face in every window. I caught her gently by the shoulders. "Ma'am, you can't go in there." "That's my baby," she sobbed, her voice breaking. "She called me last night. She said someone was standing outside her window." I felt my jaw tighten. "What time did she call?" "Around 11. I told her to call the police, but she said she already tried." Carol's hand shook. She said they told her it was probably nothing. I pulled out my notebook, writing quickly. "Did she say who she thought it was?" Carol shook her head, tears streaming. She just kept saying she didn't feel safe anymore, that people were watching her. An officer approached with a blanket, draping it over Carol's shoulders. She didn't seem to notice. Her eyes stayed locked on the house, on the door her daughter would never walk through again. "Why didn't anyone come?" she whispered. "Why didn't anyone help her?" I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I wrote down every word she said, underlining someone outside her window 3 times. I needed to understand who Erin was before this. So I started asking around Brookhaven, knocking on doors, pulling people aside. Mrs. Graves, the HOA president, met me on her pristine porch. Everything about her was crisp, her blazer, her smile, her clipboard tucked under one arm. Erin was lovely, she said carefully. Always participated in neighborhood events. Very involved. "When did you last see her?" "The block meeting. Thursday evening." She adjusted her glasses. She seemed fine. Normal. "Did she mention feeling unsafe?" Mrs. Graves hesitated just a fraction of a second. She brought up some concerns about recent incidents. Car break-ins, that sort of thing. I assured her we were handling it. "What kind of incidents?" "Minor things. Someone's mailbox was tampered with. A few cars were checked for unlocked doors." She waved a hand dismissively. "Nothing serious. Certainly nothing that would lead to this." I noticed she didn't meet my eyes when she said it. Did Erin seem worried? She seemed. Mrs. Graves chose her words carefully. Overly concerned, perhaps. I told her not to spread fear in the neighborhood. People rely on Brookhaven's reputation. I wrote that down. People rely on Brookhaven's reputation. "Thank you for your time," I said. She closed the door before I finished walking down her steps. Erin's boyfriend was next on my list. Mark Danner, 35, construction supervisor, drove a black pickup truck that he parked 2 houses down from Erin's place most nights. He met me at a coffee shop, arriving 10 minutes late, still in work boots and a dusty jacket. He looked tired, or maybe he just looked guilty. I couldn't tell yet. "I can't believe she's gone," he said, staring into his untouched coffee. "When did you last see her?" "Saturday night. We had dinner at her place." He rubbed his face. "We got into an argument." "About what?" Mark hesitated. "She wanted me to move in. I wasn't ready. She got upset, said I didn't take her seriously." "How did the argument end?" "She asked me to leave, so I left." His voice cracked. I should have stayed. I should have known something was wrong. "Did she mention feeling unsafe?" Anyone bothering her? He nodded slowly. She said someone kept walking past her house at night. Same person, same time. Around midnight. She thought maybe it was one of the neighbors. Did she say which neighbor? No, but she was scared enough to ask me to install extra locks on her doors. You met my eyes, finally. I did it last weekend. Deadbolts on both doors. She still didn't feel safe. I leaned forward. Where were you Tuesday night? His jaw tightened. At a job site in Riverside. 30 miles away. Can anyone confirm that? Yeah, my whole crew. I wrote it down, but something felt off. Not about his alibi, about the way he looked at me when he said it. Back at the station, I spread Aaron's life across my desk. Phone records, bank statements, social media posts. I needed to see the pattern, the warning signs I knew had to be there. Her last text message was to her mother at 10:47 p.m. Tuesday night. I hear footsteps outside again. I'm scared, Mom. Carol had replied immediately. Call 911 right now. But Aaron never called. Or if she did, dispatch had no record of it. I pulled up the neighborhood watch reports for Brookhaven. Over the past 6 months, there have been 11 complaints filed by residents. 7 of them were from women living alone. All reported the same thing. Noises outside windows, footsteps on porches, shadows moving in yards. Every single report was marked resolved with no follow-up investigation. I cross-referenced the signatures. One name appeared on every closure. Linda Graves, HOA president. I sat back in my chair, staring at that name. She told me the incidents were minor. But 11 complaints in 6 months? 7 from women living alone? That wasn't minor. That was a pattern. I picked up my phone and called the records department. I need every incident report filed in Brookhaven for the last 2 years. That's a lot of paperwork, detective. I know. Send it all. The files arrived the next morning in 3 boxes. I spent hours going through them, page by page, highlighting, cross-referencing, building a timeline. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 2 years, 19 women in Brookhaven had reported feeling watched, followed, or harassed. 19. All of them lived alone. All of them were between 28 and 40 years old. And all 19 complaints had been closed by Linda Graves without police follow-up. But here's what really got me. 4 of those women had moved out of Brookhaven within weeks of filing their reports. Just packed up and left. No forwarding address. No explanation to neighbors. I found one of them, Natalie Frost, living 2 towns over. I called her. I'm not talking about Brookhaven, she said immediately. Why not? Silence. Then, quietly, because I want to stay alive. What does that mean? It means I reported someone watching my house. And the next day, my tires were slashed. I reported that, and my mailbox was set on fire. I got the message. What message? Stop complaining, or it gets worse. Her voice shook, so I left. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just disappeared. Who did you think was watching you? I don't know, but someone in that neighborhood didn't want me asking questions. She paused. Detective, if you're calling me about Aaron Calloway, I already heard. And I'm not surprised. She was the only one who wouldn't shut up about it. The line went dead. I returned to Aaron's house that afternoon. The scene had been processed, the body removed, but the house still felt heavy with her absence. I walked through slowly, trying to see what she saw, feel what she felt. The locks Mark installed were top of the line. Deadbolts, chain locks, even a bar for the sliding door. But none of them had been forced. Whoever came in, Aaron had let them inside. Or they had a key. I checked the windows. All locked from the inside. I checked the back door. Locked. The alarm system was armed, but never triggered. In the kitchen, I found the letter Carol mentioned. It was on the counter, half written, the pen still lying across it. Mom, if you're reading this, it means something happened. I need you to know I try to tell people. I try to get help, but no one would listen. My hands tightened on the paper. I've been keeping a record of everything. Dates, times, descriptions. It's all in the blue folder in my closet. Please give it to the police. Please make them listen. I went straight to her bedroom and opened the closet. Behind her winter coats, I found a blue folder thick with papers. Inside were handwritten notes, printed emails, and photographs. Dozens of photographs. The photographs were all taken at night from Aaron's window. Blurry images of someone standing at the edge of her yard. A shadow near her mailbox. A figure walking past her porch at midnight. I spread them across her kitchen table, arranging them by date. The earliest was from 4 months ago. The most recent was from last Thursday, 2 days before she died. Each photo had a handwritten note on the back. March 14 to 11:52 p.m., same person again. April 3 to 12:10 a.m. stood under the streetlight for 10 minutes. May 9 to 11:47 p.m. walked directly up to my porch. I didn't open the door. My chest felt tight reading them. She'd been documenting this for months. She knew someone was targeting her. Underneath the photos, I found printed emails between Aaron and Linda Graves. Mrs. Graves, I'm writing again to report suspicious activity outside my home. This is the 5th time this month. I've attached photos. I'm asking you to please involve the police. Linda's response was brief. Aaron, I understand you're concerned, but we can't involve the police every time someone walks down the street. It's a public sidewalk. I recommend installing motion sensor lights. Aaron replied, this isn't someone walking down the street. This is someone standing outside my window. I don't feel safe. Linda never responded to that email. I sat there, staring at those messages, feeling rage build in my chest. Aaron had begged for help, and she was ignored. I requested surveillance footage from the HOA's security cameras. Brookhaven had them installed on every corner, supposedly for safety. Linda Graves tried to delay me. I'll need to check with our board first. This is a murder investigation, Mrs. Graves. You can cooperate now, or I can come back with a warrant. She handed over the hard drive that afternoon. Back at the station, I loaded the footage and started scrubbing through the timeline. Tuesday night, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. At 11:43 p.m., Erin's porch light came on. A shadow moved across her front yard, heading toward her door. I paused the video, zooming in. The figure was average height, wearing dark clothing and a hood. I couldn't see a face. At 11:51 p.m., the figure left her porch and walked toward the street, disappearing between houses. At 12:32 a.m., the figure returned. This time, they didn't leave. The next recorded movement was at 1:18 a.m. The porch light turned off. I rewound, watching it again and again. The figure never appeared on camera leaving, which meant they were still inside. I checked the timestamp on the coroner's report. Time of death estimated between midnight and 2 a.m. Someone had walked into Aaron's house and stayed there. I brought the footage to my captain, playing it for him in his office. Who is that? He asked, leaning forward. I don't know yet, but they were at Aaron's house the night she died. Can you get a better angle? There are 8 cameras in Brookhaven. I've checked them all. This is the clearest shot. He frowned. What about neighbors? Someone had to see something. I'm re-interviewing everyone on her street. Do it fast, Renner. The press is already calling this a break-in gone wrong. It wasn't a break-in, Captain. Nothing was stolen. And she let them in. How do you know? Because the alarm was never triggered. The doors weren't forced. Whoever killed her, she knew them. He sighed, rubbing his temples. Then find out who. I left his office and headed straight back to Brookhaven. Glenn Porter lived 3 houses down from Aaron. Mid-40s, worked in IT, lived alone. He was the neighborhood's unofficial tech guy. Helped people set up Wi-Fi, fix security cameras, that sort of thing. When I knocked on his door, he answered quickly, smiling too easily. Detective, how can I help? I'm investigating Aaron Calloway's death. I understand you helped her with some tech issues recently. Oh yeah, she called me a couple times. Her router kept dropping signal. When was the last time you were at her house? He thought for a moment. Maybe 2 weeks ago. I replaced her modem. Did she seem worried about anything? Not really. She mentioned something about seeing someone outside, but I figured she was just spooked. He shrugged. Living alone can do that to you. I noticed a fresh scratch on his wrist. Deep, red, recent. What happened to your hand? He glanced down, almost surprised. Oh, caught on a wire under my desk. Hazard of the job. I nodded slowly. Do you walk at night, Mr. Porter? Sometimes. Helps me think. Ever walk past Aaron's house? His smile faltered. Maybe. It's a loop. Everyone walks the same route. What time do you usually walk? Late. 11 midnight. When I can't sleep. Were you walking Tuesday night? No. I was home, working on a project. Can anyone confirm that? I live alone, detective. So no. I handed him my card. If you think of anything else, call me. He took it, still smiling, but his hand shook slightly. I ran Glenn Porter's name through the system. No record, not even a speeding ticket. But when I pulled his employment history, something jumped out. Before moving to Brookhaven, Glenn had worked for a security company that installed residential surveillance systems. He knew cameras. He knew blind spots. He knew how to move without being seen. I requested a warrant to search his house. The judge approved it within 2 hours. We executed it the next morning. Glenn wasn't home. He was at work. His basement door was locked from the outside. We broke it open. The smell hit me first. Bleach, strong and sharp, like he'd scrubbed the place raw. And then I saw the monitors. 4 of them, lined up on a desk, each one showing a different feed. I leaned closer, my stomach turning. Erin's house. Front yard. Back porch. Bedroom window. Glenn Porter had been watching her. Not just walking past, watching her. We found more in his basement. A hard drive labeled Brookhaven Archives. External cameras rigged to record off-grid, bypassing the HOA's official system. The tech team pulled the footage. Hours of it. Erin wasn't the only one. There were 7 other women, all living alone, all recorded without their knowledge. I felt sick watching it. Bedroom windows, kitchen windows, backyards. Glenn had been spying on them for months, maybe years. But here's what confused me. The footage stopped 3 weeks ago. Just ended. No recordings after that. Why would he stop? I asked the tech. Maybe he got spooked. Or maybe he switched methods. I thought about that. Switched methods. Glenn had access to every house in Brookhaven. He'd installed routers, cameras, alarm systems. Pull his work logs. I want to know every house he's been inside in the last 6 months. 2 hours later, I had the list. Erin's name was on it. So were the names of 4 other women who'd filed complaints with the HOA. Glenn Porter wasn't just watching. He had access. We arrested Glenn at his office. He didn't resist. Didn't ask for a lawyer. Just sat in the interrogation room, calm and quiet, waiting. I sat across from him, laying out printed screenshots from his hard drive. Recognize these? He glanced at them, nodded. Why were you recording these women? I wasn't hurting anyone. You were violating their privacy. They never knew. That's not the point, Glenn. He finally looked at me. I liked watching. That's all. I didn't touch anyone. I didn't break in. Except you did. You were in Erin's house the night she died. His expression didn't change. No, I wasn't. We have footage. Then it's not me. I leaned forward. We found your cameras. Your hard drives. Your recordings. You've been stalking these women for months. Watching isn't stalking. It is when you install cameras without their consent. He smiled faintly. Prove I killed her. And that was the problem. I couldn't. Not yet. The forensic team processed Erin's house again, this time looking for Glenn's DNA. They found it on the door handle, on the kitchen counter, on her router. But Glenn had a reason to be there. He'd installed her equipment. What about the bedroom? I asked. Nothing. No trace of him anywhere near her bedroom or the scene of death. I sat back, frustrated. Glenn was a predator, yes. But was he a killer? I reviewed the footage again. The hooded figure. Average height. Slim build. Glenn was 5'10", maybe 160. The figure could be him, but it could also be someone else. I pulled Mark Danner's file. 5'11", 170. Same build. And then I remembered what Carol said. She thought people were watching her. People. Plural. What if it wasn't just Glenn? I went back to Erin's house, reading her letter again. The one she'd started writing to her mother. Mom, if you're reading this, it means something happened. I need you to know I tried to tell people. Try to tell people. Not person. People. I opened her blue folder again, rereading her notes. One entry stood out. May 22nd, confronted Mrs. Graves at the block meeting. Asked why my complaints weren't being forwarded to police. She said the HOA handles internal issues internally. I asked what that meant. She said I was overreacting. I flipped the page. May 25th, Mark told me to stop making waves. Said I was embarrassing him in front of the neighbors. We argued. He said if I kept pushing, I'd regret it. My hands tightened on the paper. June 2nd, Glenn fixed my router again. He was in my house for 30 minutes. I felt uncomfortable the whole time. He kept asking if I lived alone. I read faster. June 10th, Mark came over. We fought again. He said I was paranoid, that no one was watching me. But I know what I saw. And then, the final entry, written the night before she died. I'm scared. I don't know who to trust anymore. I think Mark knows more than he's saying. I think Mrs. Graves is covering something up. And I think Glenn is involved. I just don't know how. I closed the folder, my heart pounding. Erin hadn't been killed by one person. She'd been surrounded by them. I brought Mark Danner back in. This time, I wasn't gentle. You lied to me. I didn't. You told me you left Erin's house Saturday night. But neighbors saw your truck parked on her street Tuesday night. His face went pale. I went back to apologize. What time? Around 11. Did you go inside? He hesitated. Yeah, for a few minutes. Why didn't you mention this before? Because I knew how it would look. His voice cracked, but I didn't hurt her. I swear. We talked. She was upset, but we worked it out. I left around 11:30. Did you see anyone else? He nodded slowly. Glenn. He was standing at the end of the block, just watching. Did Erin see him? I don't know. I told her to lock the door after I left. I leaned forward. Did she? I heard the lock click. His eyes filled with tears. I walked to my truck and I saw Glenn walk toward her house. I should have stayed. I should have known. Why didn't you call the police? Because I thought he was just being creepy. I didn't think his voice broke. I didn't think he'd kill her. I believed him, but belief wasn't evidence. The case was falling apart. Glenn had motive and access, but no physical evidence tied him to the murder. Mark had been there that night, but his timeline checked out. And then the lab called. Detective, we found something. DNA under Erin's fingernails. My heart jumped. Who's? Unknown male. Not in the system. Can you compare it to our suspects? Already did. It's not Glenn Porter. And it's not Mark Danner. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Then who is it? We don't know. But whoever killed her, she fought back. I hung up, staring at my caseboard. 3 suspects. None of them matched, which meant I was missing someone. I went back to Linda Graves. This time, I didn't call ahead. She answered the door in a robe, surprised. Detective, it's late. I need to talk to you about the security cameras. We already gave you the footage. I know, but I want to know who installed them. She frowned. A private company. Brookhaven Development hired them. Who owns Brookhaven Development? I don't know. The board handles that. Who's on the board? She hesitated. Myself. And 2 others. Names. Detective, I don't see how. Names, Mrs. Graves. She sighed. Thomas Calloway and Raymond Holt. I froze. Thomas Calloway? Any relation to Erin? Her ex-husband. She looked away. They divorced 2 years ago. He still owns property in Brookhaven. My blood ran cold. Why didn't you mention this before? It didn't seem relevant. A woman is dead, and her ex-husband is on the HOA board that ignored her complaints. How is that not relevant? She didn't answer. I pulled Thomas Calloway's file. 38. Real estate investor. No criminal record. Divorced from Erin in 2021 after 5 years of marriage. The divorce was messy. Restraining order filed. Allegations of control, manipulation, threats. Erin had written in her statement. He told me if I ever left him, I'd regret it. I called the number on file. It rang 4 times before he answered. This is Thomas. Mr. Calloway, this is Detective Renner. I need to ask you about Erin. Silence. Then, quietly, I heard what happened. I'm sorry. When did you last see her? Not since the divorce. You're on the Brookhaven HOA board. You knew she lived there. I knew, but I stayed away. The restraining order was clear. Did you know she was filing complaints? A pause. Linda mentioned it. And I told her to handle it. That's what the HOA is for. Handle it how? I don't know. I trusted her judgment. Erin's dead, Mr. Calloway. And someone walked into her house Tuesday night and killed her. His voice turned cold. And you think that was me? I think you need to come in for questioning. He hung up. Thomas Calloway didn't come in. Instead, his lawyer called. My client is cooperating fully, but he will not be interrogated without representation. Fine. Bring him in tomorrow. He's out of town. He'll be back next week. This is a murder investigation, and he has rights, detective. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I requested a warrant for Thomas's DNA. The judge approved it, but enforcement would take time. Meanwhile, I pulled Thomas's phone records. He called Linda Graves 18 times in the past 2 months, most of them late at night. I called Linda. Why was Thomas Calloway calling you? HOA business. At midnight. She didn't answer. Mrs. Graves, if you're protecting him, I'm not protecting anyone. I'm trying to keep this neighborhood safe. A woman is dead. Safe from what? The line went quiet. Then, barely a whisper from the truth. Thomas Calloway returned to Brookhaven 3 days later. We arrested him at his office. He didn't resist, didn't say a word, just stared at me with cold, empty eyes. We swabbed his DNA and compared it to the sample under Aaron's nails. It was a match. In the interrogation room, Thomas finally spoke. She ruined everything. My reputation, my business, my life. So you killed her? I didn't plan to. I just wanted to talk. His voice was calm, detached. I went to her house. She let me in. We argued. She said I was pathetic, that she'd moved on, and I lost control. He said it like he was describing the weather. You strangled her. I didn't mean to. I just wanted her to stop talking. I felt rage burning in my chest. She was terrified of you. She filed complaints. She begged for help, and no one helped her. He smiled faintly, because I made sure they wouldn't. You paid Linda Graves to bury the complaints. I didn't have to pay her. I just reminded her who funded the cameras, who kept property values high, who made Brookhaven what it is. He leaned back. Aaron was bad for business. So I handled it. Thomas Calloway was charged with first-degree murder. Linda Graves was charged as an accessory. Glenn Porter faced multiple counts of voyeurism and stalking. The neighborhood fractured. Some residents left. Others stayed, clinging to the illusion of safety. Carol Whitmore stood at Aaron's vigil, surrounded by candles and flowers. My daughter told you, she said, her voice shaking. She told all of you, and you did nothing. No one argued. No one defended themselves. Because she was right. Aaron had screamed for help, and Brookhaven had silenced her. At the trial, Thomas showed no remorse. Linda cried. Glenn stared at the floor. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. All of them. Thomas got life without parole. Linda got 15 years. Glenn got 10. But no sentence could bring Aaron back. I drove past Brookhaven one last time after the trial. The streets were quieter now. Fewer kids on bikes. Fewer neighbors waving. Aaron's house sat empty, a for sale sign in the yard. Her porch light still turned on every night at dusk. The timer sheet set, still running. I thought about what Carol said. Everyone knew something. No one did anything. That was the real crime. Not just Thomas's hands around Aaron's throat, but the collective silence. The turnbacks. The closed doors. Evil doesn't always hide in shadows. Sometimes it stands in plain sight, smiling, waving, pretending everything is fine. And we let it, because it's easier to look away than to face the truth. I filed my final report and closed the case. But I knew it would never really be closed. Not for Carol. Not for the women Glenn had watched. Not for the neighbors who'd stayed silent. Some wounds don't heal. They just scar. Carol visits Aaron's grave every Sunday. She brings fresh flowers and sits on the bench nearby, talking to her daughter like she's still listening. Maybe she is. The neighborhood slowly forgot. New families moved in. The for sale sign came down. Life moved on, but I didn't forget. I kept Aaron's blue folder in my desk drawer. A reminder that silence kills. That when someone says they're scared, we have to listen. That safety isn't measured by property values or perfect lawns. It's measured by whether people can sleep at night without fear. Aaron couldn't. And now she never will. I think about her last text to her mother. I'm scared, Mom. 3 words. A plea for help. And no one came. That's the truth we have to live with. Not just in Brookhaven, but everywhere. Because Aaron's story isn't unique. It's happening right now, in neighborhoods that look just like hers. The question is, will we listen this time? Or will we wait until it's too late? Thank you for watching True Crime Files Gist. Aaron's story is a painful reminder that silence has consequences. If this case moved you, if it made you think about the people around you who might be suffering in silence, then please share it. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and most importantly, speak up when someone asks for help. Your voice could save a life. We'll see you in the next story.